What's up guys, Ed here back with another video. I am the creator of Oversoul for those of you who stumbled upon this channel and do not know. Oversoul is a trading card game where it pits two players against each other, and those two players are known as Soul Masters, and they both fight to determine who has the strongest soul, using souls from a place called the Soul Realm. The Soul Realm is a mythical place, and it also serves as an afterlife, so if you die here, then you are reborn or reincarnated as a soul. Anyways, this video will be of just me showing you some of the cards that will be in the trial deck that will be releasing soon. It's the Fire trial deck. So the first card I want to show you is basically like the boss monster of the trial deck or the starter deck. It's called Flamewing Dragon. It's a level 6 Fire Soul, and it has the Flame Dragon trait. It's a 2-hitter, which means that it can deal 2 damage if you look on the side. If you look to the left side, you'll see 2 icons there. Those icons are called hits. Uh, Damage is determined depending on how many of those icons a soul has. So since he has 2, he can deal 2 damage. He has 600 power, and that's basically how strong it is. So when it battles other creatures, so it has nothing to do when it attacks a player. Just his ability. If you look at his ability, there's a sort of crossing sword symbol there. That basically means that the ability activates when it attacks. Anything that's within a bracket right before a ability is basically the conditions and also the cost. So when he attacks, this soul gains plus 50 power for each fire soul in your soul gauge until the end of turn. That's his first ability. His second ability is when this soul destroys a soul by battle, you get to draw 1 card. Now he's pretty good. I'd say he's pretty good for a starter deck. His thing is basically he sort of helps you get cards into your hand whenever he destroys a soul. And with his first ability, he could just gain up power. And that's one thing about fire. It's all about just sort of gaining power. Like the fire is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So that's I feel like this is a pretty decent boss monster for a starter deck. He is a rare though. He comes in 2 different rarities in the starter deck. You get this version, which is the rare, and you get this version, which is the super rare. The super rare, if you can't tell the difference, regular rare, it has a black border, and the character is behind the text box. The super rare is a white border, and the character is in front of the text box. Also, the in a rare and in a super rare, the character pops in front of the border. The second card I'll be showing is Blazing Phoenix. Blazing Phoenix is a level 2 Fire Soul with the Bird trait. It's a 1-hitter and has 300 power. It's a common, and its ability says all other Fire Souls you control gain plus 100 power while you control this soul. So he's pretty good in gaining power for the rest of your other creatures. Like I said, it's the sort of fire thing. That's it just the flame gets bigger and bigger, and that's sort of what this starter deck kind of based around. The playstyle is mostly just gaining a lot of power and sort of doing that. There is a card in there in this deck that allows you to add more cards to your hand, and in this game, having a lot of cards in your hand is actually really good because it kind of adopts the sort of guarding and vanguard where you discard cards to reduce damage or whatever. Well, in vanguard you block with cards in your hand using its shield, but in my game you can reduce the damage by discarding cards equal to the amount of damage you would take, or you could reduce just a portion of it. So if you take 2 damage, if you don't want to take the full 2 damage but you're okay with taking 1 damage, you could just discard 1 card to reduce 1, kind of like that. Another thing is that if you look where it says fire, there's like these angle brackets. Um, Usually traits and I have to fix this in the rulebook. Traits and elements, they're whenever they're mentioned, they're usually mentioned within angle brackets. So of course, the fire. If, Whenever it says fire, nature, neutral, dark, light, and water, it usually refers to an element. If it mentions anything else inside those angle brackets that isn't an element in the game, then it's most likely mentioning a trait. The next card is Ember Tusk Blazer. It is a level 1 Fire Soul with a Beast trait. It is a 1-hitter and it has 300 power. It if you look at his text box, you can see that it has a symbol and with a text after it. Basically, it's explaining what a soul trigger is. Soul triggers have this white symbol in the text box, and it has the reminder text letting you know what it is. But basically, what they are is that whenever you take damage, you reveal the top card of your deck to see if you have a trigger. If it's a soul trigger, it'll be white. It'll have a white icon. If it is a spell trigger, it'll have the same icon but in blue. Soul triggers allow you to summon the creature to the battlefield, the battlefield, instead of sending it to the damage zone. So it's sort of like your heal trigger in like in Vanguard. So instead of taking damage, you just summon it for free. Most of them are going to be weak, and it doesn't mean like just spam like just fill your deck up with a whole bunch of soul triggers. That won't work. Mostly because there's a bit of there is some pretty good removal to get rid of just get rid of cards that has low in power, and most of the soul triggers are low in power. So that's one way that I kind of balance that out. But yeah, he's pretty good for to help you out so that you won't take too much damage. Next, we have Burning Warrior. Burning Warrior is a level 7 fire soul with the flame and berserk trait, so it has two different traits. It is a two hitter and it has 600 power. It doesn't really have an ability, but this is pretty good. It's sort of just a beefcake, just a wall for your opponent to sort of kind of get around. There's not really a lot of removal for higher levels and higher power souls. That's more reserved for the lower level souls. But if you can get your power up to get to destroy this guy, then you're pretty good with whatever. But he's pretty good to get out there because he's sort of just a big like just a punch to the face and stuff like that. The next guy is this little guy here. This this crazy looking guy. His name is Burn Critter. It is a level 1 fire soul with the flame trait. It's a one hitter and has 300 power. Nothing really special about him. So our next card is Fruits of Labor. It is a spell card. It is level 3 and it has the neutral element. It is if you could tell by that symbol and from what I said earlier about spells having blue trigger icons, this is indeed a spell trigger. So whenever you play this guy, whenever you take damage and you reveal this guy or any type of spell trigger um, during your trigger check, then you get to activate its ability before sending the card to the damage zone. They still get sent to the damage zone, but you get to activate their abilities, for free. And his ability is you get to draw two cards. Pot of Greed up in this. Um, Now, one thing I do want to say, this is a little bit of a spoiler. If you don't want to hear the spoiler, then I don't know. You can skip to the next card or whatever. But what in my game there is going to be a series of cards with the fruit trait, and they're sort of based around drawing cards, and each one will have a specific thing added with it or conditions you have to meet to do so. This one's pretty good because it just lets you draw two cards for free. Well, not for free, of course. It's a level 3, but if you get him during a three, if you get him during your during your trigger check, then you don't really have to use up. You don't lose a card from your hand. So it's sort of like a during your opponent's turn. If you get him during a trigger check, he's a +2. If he's during your turn, then he's a -1/+1. Well, -1/+2. Yeah, he's pretty good. He's pretty decent. He's kind of a staple so far from playtesting and whatnot. So this is Fire Charger. It's a level 3 fire spell. It has the booster trait and the blessing trait. And its ability is all fire souls you control gain +50 power when they attack until the end of turn. Now this guy is kind of special. Why I say that is most when you play a spell in Oversoul, it stays in the spell zone until the end of turn. At the end of your turn, that card is then sent to the graveyard. The thing about cards that have the blessing trait is that instead of sending it to the graveyard, they just stay there and they don't go away unless an ability says that they go away. So they're kind of like your continuous spell cards in Yu-Gi-Oh. Um, but yeah, they're pretty cool. They're pretty decent. The only and they can be very powerful. The only thing is that you're only allowed 5 spells on the field, and if you have a whole bunch of blessings out there, then you're limited to how many spells you can play a turn. The next spell is another fruit spell. It is a level 3 fire spell. It's called Mangogo Passion. It's a spell trigger, and its ability allows you to choose a soul you control, and it gains plus 300 power until the end of turn. And then you get to draw 1 card. So he's sort of a +1, and you get to give power to one of your souls. He's pretty decent, especially depending on what your the goal of your deck is. This being, gaining power and stuff like that. There is a sort of archetype in the game that benefits off of gaining power, but that'll be for another video. I'll talk about those in another video once they're all finished. Next, we have Fire Formation Triple Threat. It's a level 2 fire spell with the Ember trait. It's another spell trigger, and its ability, its condition, if you control more souls than your opponent, you get to choose a soul you control. It gains plus 200 power until the end of turn. So pretty decent, like I said, gaining power, which is sort of the theme of this deck. Um, Now it is a starter deck, so it's not really, how do I say? So the theme of the starter deck is to gain a lot of power. And there is a card that sort of benefits off that, but most of the cards that'll kind of like help with what this starter deck can do will be in the first set. So if you really want to utilize the starter deck, you're really gonna have to like get the starter, get some cards, get those specific cards from the first booster set that will be coming out later after the starter deck, because it's not gonna be I'm not gonna release them both at the same time, because I am one person and I do want to get this out for anybody who is really interested in the game. Just it's going to take me some time because I'm not that fast of an artist, and I'm a bit of a perfectionist. Believe it or not, I'm a bit of a perfectionist. So the next card is Firefighter the Kid. It's a level 2 fire soul with a flame trait. It's a one hitter. It has 300 power, and its ability says this soul's power reaches 500 or more. Look at the top 3 cards of your deck. Put one of them into your hand and put the rest of them at the bottom of your deck. Shuffle your deck afterwards. This is the guy I was telling you about that benefits off of gaining power, and he's a part of an archetype called Firefighter, which I won't get too much into on what they can do, but just know that they do benefit off of gaining power, and that's sort of a that's as you can see, that's what he can do. And this guy is pretty good because you're gaining cards. You're adding cards to your hand, which you can either play the next turn or you can save in your hand so that you can defend yourself and reduce damage. The last card I want to show is Twinflower Fluff. Twinflower Fluff is a level 1 neutral soul with the Fluffer trait. It has 1 hit and it has 200 power. Now, one thing I do want to say is that my game doesn't really have too much lore in it. Like, it'll have like itty bitty like little stuff. Um, because it's basically our realm is connected to the soul realm. You can see the souls being different people or whatever. That's sort of the idea behind it. There will be like certain events in the game that have a bit of a story to it, which I do have one planned. I don't know if it's going to be in the first set or the second set. I don't think it's going to be in the first set. The thing about souls that have the fluffer trait is that these guys are actually the souls of dead infants that never had a chance to be born. So a miscarriage or anything like that. That's what these guys are. These little sad little guys. I try to make them really cute and fluffy and stuff like that. That's what these guys are. So if you ever see a fluffer, just think that that was a poor little guy who never got to be born or anything like that. Screw you, abortionally. That's about it. There's sorry to end it up. That's probably like depressing, but yeah. Uh, that's sort of it that I have. There will be one more card that I have to draw, but yeah, that's about it. Thank you guys for watching, and have a nice day.